And speaking of nuclear threats, North Korea and South Korea exchanged artillery fire near their disputed western border, raising all kinds of questions and concerns about what will happen in that region. Also worth mentioning, the dollar and the Swiss franc strengthened after the incident because demand for the currencies increased. Well, investigative journalist Webster Tarpley is here for more. Webster, so what is the connection there with the currency in this incident?
Well, it's a flight to safety. We have this incident with the Koreans. We've also got a big crisis in Ireland, which I think is actually bigger. But just on the Korean side, this, on the surface, this is the kind of circus we've seen quite a few times since the Gulf of Tonkin in 1964. It's a disputed border, and the South Koreans were holding maneuvers, and the North had protested, and then the shooting began. And since the border is disputed, who violated whose territory, or even who started shooting, I think we can't really know from a distance. Normally, that would not be anything special. We've had it, again, quite a few times. What makes it more worrisome is that this is now the Yellow Sea, and this is a place where the U.S. and South Korea have insisted on having a presence very close to Beijing, very close to China. Chinese are very, very upset about this. The other thing you've got is just the general framework of the succession. Kim Il-sung put the succession onto Kim Jong-il, and that seemed to work okay. But now we've got Kim Jong-il passing on the mantle to Kim Jong-un, and there may be some generals in the North Korean military who are not happy about taking orders from somebody so young and so inexperienced with no military background. So it means that they're very, very sensitive to provocations more than they would be at some other time. And then overarching all of this, you've had this strange missile, this looks like a submarine-launched ballistic missile that went up 35 miles west of Los Angeles back at the beginning of the month. And what was that? There were really two competing stories. There's one story that it was the U.S. shooting off a missile to scare China, and there's a competing story that it was China shooting off a missile to scare the United States. But whichever way you want to do this, we then had the G20 in South Korea, very acrimonious. The U.S. wanted to line up everybody to attack China. Instead, it looked like most people were attacking the U.S. And there's also the sense that China basically told the U.S. to get lost. And there's a lot of bad blood in the Obama administration about that. So I think that's one side, right? So that's sort of the military security side. But now, if you look at the hedge fund people talking on television this afternoon, they don't really care about Korea. What they care about is Ireland. And here's the situation. This is now a country with two or three large zombie banks in the Eurozone. They're coming under hedge fund attack right now because the U.S. hedge funds have been going after them. The danger you have now is that there's an Irish government guarantee for the deposits up to any amount, the bonds, the commercial paper, the whole thing. Despite this guarantee, Irish bonds are falling as of right now, as far as we know. And the question that this raises is a panic run, panic withdrawals from the Irish banks, despite the presence of a state guarantee. In other words, will we have that now on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
But I mean, bring it back to this issue, you know, with this latest incident, which obviously has nothing to do with Ireland, you know, in North and South Korea, because, you know, what will happen financially if the situation gets worse?
Yeah, I think, again, that the financial people are moving their money. They're doing a flight to safety in the U.S. Treasury market for all the obvious reasons. Some of it, maybe from the Far East, is coming from people in Japan or South Korea who are worried about this. The U.S., of course, classically uses North Korea as a gambit. You can prod North Korea into doing things, and once you've got that going, the Japanese and the South Koreans have to be more dependent on the U.S. But again, I think the fact that you've got Ireland perhaps in a situation of a very severe bankruptcy crisis. That's what Rompuy is talking about, the president of Europe, Merkel of Germany. And the Irish finance minister said today, don't panic. And when the finance minister says don't panic, that means there's a panic. And I think that's actually what's happening. And again, if Ireland goes, if the Irish banks can't maintain themselves despite the state guarantee, the British will be next. And then the whole world is in the soup.
We'll have to keep our eye on that. Investigative journalist Webster Tarpley, we appreciate your